Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. Leverage is a strategic advantage. It's the power to act effectively. It's going to bolster you up to the next level that you're trying to get to. Instead of relying on somebody else to help you with your hat in your hand, you're actually bringing something to the table, and you're proving to them that you have a track record, that you've written songs, that you've got cuts, that you have demos, that you've made money as an artist and you're worth banking on. That's what the new music business is about, is creating leverage. That's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B. C.L.I.M.B., creating leverage in the music business. Oh, my Lanta, that's beautiful. The Baxternym comes from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And he helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how to write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then on a regular, he connects you to the pros so you can find out where you're at, what you got to work on, and if you're ready to go on a couple of songs, even make some relationships and start to move up that ladder. You can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. Daredevil has created over 25 national TV opportunities for their indie artists by making them discoverable. They've also created multiple tour opportunities, and through the power of digital marketing, data. They have attracted a number of investors for their clients. The investors like the numbers because the numbers don't lie. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production, singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
What's happening, brother?
Oh, I'm excited to share some stuff, some hidden treasures that have not been seen by most of the world. So today, I'm going to share a hang that I had with the producer of Rodney Atkins. He's a hit country artist, and the producer's name is Ted Hewitt. Ted is he's a hit producer. He's a hit songwriter. He's written songs for other artists. He's a vocalist. He's all the stuff. He's all the things. And so I've had the pleasure of writing with Ted before, and this is something that lives in the Freddie members area. So if you remember Freddie, FRETTIE.com, if you dig it, you can go there and you can see it as well as hear it as you're about to hear it. But also we have a bunch of other folks that we hang with. So I just wanted to share this, go, hey, pull back the curtain a little bit on the Freddie community and see what fine Freddie folks there are getting to see. But I just wanted to share it with the C.L.I.M.B. community as well.
A little look into the little transparency into what happens over there in Freddie land.
It is, man. And this is a good one. So I wanted to share some good goodies.
Cool. Well, I always like hearing from pros like that. Let's take care of a little business first, brother. Hey, you guys, it's a digital world out there. Everybody knows this, but it's still super, super important for you to have physical media if you're an independent musician. Digital royalty payments are so small, as you are painfully well aware of. When you sell products like a CD, vinyl, T-shirts, hats, USBs, like this is the stuff that actually gets you from town to town. This is the stuff that actually generates revenue and turns this into more than a hobby for you.
That's right. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Math. Math says for every CD you sell at a gig, for one CD, you got to have about 3,000 streams to make the same amount of money. So one CD, 3,000 streams. One CD, 3,000 streams, right? You can get to 3,000 streams. That's great. That's hard. Why not do both? You're literally leaving money on the table if you don't have merch on the table. So our friends at Disc Makers are the place to go for your disc and other physical media, including vinyl, USB drives, and even T-shirts. And you can find them at www.discmakers.com. That's DISC makers.com, or give them a call at 800-468-9353. That's 800-468-9353.
All right, guys. And if you haven't joined the C.L.I.M.B. community on Facebook, please do so. We have to ask to be let in, but we let everybody in. Don't worry about it. We're very inclusive. It's all love and puppy dogs and ice cream and good information, entertainment, and inspiration. That's the kind of place you want to hang out with. Stuff's going on every single day. Every day there's activity going on there. That's what's really cool about it. It's not one of these kind of Facebook groups where the last time you visited 2 months ago and put a post up, it's the same post. It's a barren wasteland, like a ghost town. It's not what's happening here. So we're super proud of that. Come on in. Let us know what's going on. Lots of people helping people, getting questions answered, singers, songwriters, indie artists, everybody. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already. Wherever you like to listen to podcasts, we're everywhere. Make sure that you get the subscription so that, it's free, right? Why not listen to every single episode that's going to make sense to you, that's going to have some impact for you? Take 5 seconds, 25 seconds, and leave a 5-star rating and review, or leave an honest rating and review. If it's not 5-star, tell us why. We'll read it on the air. We read them all on the air. We'll make you famous. And lastly, tell a friend about it. If this is really helping you, if you found value in this, if we're taking up your time, it's for a reason. Tell somebody else about it. Post that on social media. Tell your other songwriter friends, your other musician friends, and let them know, hey, what's going on. And speaking of reviews,
yes,
we've got another, this one's kind of cool, actually. Got a brand new review here. This is from October 15th, 2019. It's a tasty 5-star review. And the title is, it's from Lou Gazzara, and the title is Mindy Pack Interview. Mindy Pack Interview. Do you recognize the name Lou Gazzara?
Well, honestly, I do, because we talked about it.
You're like Jim Carrey on Johnny Carson. It's not like we planned it, Johnny. Anyway, here's the review. It says, thanks for your podcast. I'm an American Idol finalist from season 2.
Oh, there we go.
Back in the day, and have been Las Vegas headliner and touring concert artist for years, singing every single style and genre you can think of in my show. By the way, did I say the title of this? Mindy Pack Interview, about our friend Mindy Pack, the vocal teacher. So he says, the vocal extremes are very demanding, and listening to Mindy was an awesome treat and motivational to find a coach that can help me at the higher professional level. Awesome stuff. I'll definitely be listening to more. When you put this review up there, Lou, and thank you for this great review. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
I took a screenshot of it and sent it to Mindy, and Mindy's reaction was, well, tell them to call me. So she's got your back if you're looking for another resource there on vocal health, brother. We really appreciate it.
Climber, if you're interested in hearing that interview with Mindy Pack, that is episode 172. Interview with vocal coach to the stars.
That's right. I mean, Justin Timberlake, Pharrell, big stars. So
craziness.
Yep.
So thanks, Lou, man. That's awesome. All right. So what we're going to do is, this episode the hang is, we're just going to drop in the audio here so y'all can hear it, and then we're going to come back and we'll wrap it up. But this is my hang with Rodney Atkins' hit producer, Ted Hewitt.
I can't wait to hear it.
Our guest today has produced Rodney Atkins' multi-platinum breakthrough album, If You're Going Through Hell, which yielded 4 consecutive #1 singles and an ACM nomination for Album of the Year. To date, he has produced 6 #1s, I believe, and as well as 3 top 20 hits for Rodney. He's also a producer on Rodney's current album, Caught Up in the Country. Our guest also produced the first major label album on Canadian artist Brett Kissel. That project with Brett garnered 5 radio hits, as well as Juno nominations for Album of the Year and Producer of the Year, and a Juno nomination and win for Breakthrough Artist of the Year in 2014. The same project received 5 CCMA nominations. As a songwriter, our guest has over 40 major label cuts, including Wine into Water by T. Graham Brown. That song kills me. Love Lessons for Tracy Byrd, which is a great one too. Plus cuts by Waylon Jennings, Glenn Campbell, Alabama, Kenny Rogers, Rodney Atkins, and Winona, among others. He's also an accomplished musician and vocalist, and he sung or played with Reba, Rodney Atkins, Vern Gosdin, Glenn Campbell, Craig Morgan, just to name a few. Ted Hewitt, thank you for hanging with us today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
That's a heck of a bio. I love that. So, Ted, my goal for today for this hang is to inspire, educate, and motivate aspiring songwriters and singer-songwriters. And I want to do that just by having an honest conversation, just by keeping it real and letting them learn from your experience in these different facets of the music business. So you ready to go for that?
Sure.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So I like to always start these off talking about the cuts and the bruises. So normally this is the songwriter's like best story of getting a cut, that kind of mountaintop moment. Some sort of success could be your first cut, your most successful cut, whatever a good cut story is for you. And then on the flip side, the best or most painful story of not getting the cut. That's the bruise moment. So we have the cuts and the bruises, and let the folks know at home that it's not all wine and roses, but there's ups and downs in this business. And since you're a songwriter and a producer, feel free to tackle these stories from either end or both. So let's start off with the positive. Can you tell me a good cut story?
Well, my cut story's got to be my first cut. And I was so lucky I'd been bringing songs to Nashville. I was making a trip up here. I lived down towards Chattanooga, and I'd moved there from Atlanta. I had gotten a job playing bass with an artist named Johnny Carver, he had the country version of Tie a Yellow Ribbon, which was his big hit. So I was doing craft shows with my wife, and I met these Nashville musicians. And so they asked me if I could play bass, and I said, sure, which I'd never played bass, but I figured I could do it. And so they knew Buddy Cannon, and Buddy had been actually the bass player before me. And so I had an opportunity to meet Buddy and say, hey, man, can I bring some songs up to you? Because I knew he had been successful as a songwriter. And so I just started bringing songs. I'd get a batch of songs, and I'd get in my old truck and drive up to Mel Tillis's publishing company where Buddy worked. And I remember I would sit out in my truck for just trying to get up the courage to go inside, because it doesn't, even now, it takes a lot of courage to play songs for people. It really does. It's, you're just bearing your soul and everything you think is great. And, they were encouraging, but they didn't take anything. And they finally took something, that was really almost as better than getting the first cut, just because I'd been made 4, 5, 6 trips up. And, but they took my songs, and I was sort of going through a divorce at that time, and they encouraged me to move to Nashville. And so, I was sleeping on this guy's couch. I can remember doing this work tape for a song called Leaving Eyes. And it was actually, I took it to Buddy and them, and Buddy took it to Mel Tillis. And Mel took it to Glenn Campbell. They were friends. And so, it was a song I wrote by myself, and Glenn cut it, and so it was like, and it was the first year in town. I was thinking, boy, this is really easy. Little did I know. It was like 10 more years to have a single that did pretty good. But it was so encouraging too, because I got to sing on the record, and there were pranksters at Mel's place. I came in one day and they said, man, we've had something happen there. Something happened to your cut. It got the tape screwed up or something. They were just yanking it. So
that's brutal.
It was. So anyway, that has to be it really, just that when I look back and I think, man, I was like just so blessed to get that. So
yeah, the Glenn Campbell cut, Hall of Fame.
No, it was just one of those things. And I don't think, looking back, I think I realized that at the time. I was a big Glenn Campbell fan, because everybody was, but you kind of like, sort of in the moment, you're like, it's almost like it's not real. But it led to getting a publishing deal there at Mel's, and that was sort of getting to work with Buddy Cannon. He sort of became my unintended mentor. He would probably never own to that, but I've always just studied what he does and kind of watched how he did his career as a producer and songwriter.
Very cool.
So that was my cut.
Okay, well let's move to the darkness here. So bruise story. It could be not getting the cut, or it could be some other music business kind of bruise that is. Well,
there's several. The one songwriter one that probably the hardest was, I'd written a song with Bob Corbin, and it's called American Son, and it was a really great song. It was, it was near the Olympics times, and it was a sort of sports-centered thing, and Hank Jr. took it. Having said that, Bob was a great singer. He's like a sort of Bob Seger kind of singer. Well, we knew they were cutting it, that I can remember that day so well, and at the end of the day, he didn't do it. He felt like he couldn't pull off the vocal. And that was when Hank Jr. was really hot too. He was like platinum. He was rocking right then. A single on Hank Jr. then would have just been a huge deal. So that's one of those things where you realize in this business, and you got to be able to get your butt kicked numerous times, because everybody does at some point or another. It's just it's so competitive, and it's going to happen. That was definitely probably the main bruise song, bruise thing,
Yeah, that is one. And you're like, next time telling your co-writer, can you maybe not sing it quite
right?
So well?
Exactly, and that's not
intimidate the artist.
And that's true.
Right.
That's possible. You can have sometimes a singer that is too good. It really reduces the number of people that can cut it. If there's something, of course, like Jeffrey Steele, a guy like that is just an unbelievable singer too. And there's just a few people that can sing his songs, but they were really big songs too. So,
right.
The other bruise as a producer was, I'd found this act in Canada. It was before I met her at the same time I met Brett. But anyway, I worked really hard. I've been up there a couple of times. I had Buddy interested in it, Buddy Cannon, and I was finally able to get her a development deal. At the time it was RCA, and then found out at the meeting the manager had gotten some other producer we'd had some issues, and she got some other producer to get the gig. So she got the development deal, and then they like, we'll take her, but we don't want you, kind of thing, you know. So it was like karma implications. I mean, nothing happened, and it was one of those things where they thought having somebody with more of a name, it would be a bigger deal. That's lesson learned for them, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, what was the team that got you interested in the first place? And I think a lot of writers that are kind of outside the business, look at producers and they see names on hit records and they think, wow, I mean, they just got the life. It's easy for them, but producers are hustling like everybody else. They're just a different part of the business, but it's not all green lights for y'all either. So I'm curious about you mentioned, so at the time we're recording this, Rodney has new album out. He's about to release, I think, his second single on it. And you're already starting to look for singles or look for songs for the next project.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about the song search, and you can talk about Rodney specifically or just artists in general, because, not your first rodeo. Yeah. So when you're doing a song search for an artist like Rodney, and I noticed like on his album, his current record, he did not write most of the songs. Most of them are written by other folks. And there are way more songs and songwriters than you can possibly sift through because you just don't have time to listen to them all. You never have time to actually produce, right? Yeah. So how do you go about looking for songs for an artist? And, does the artist and label bring in all the songs? Do you do your own search? And kind of what are the kind of avenues where you collect songs for a project like that?
One of the great things that's happened now is that, C.L.I.M.B has hired Laurel Kittleson, and she's really a great A&R person, and that's her job, But C.L.I.M.B before, there's been like people wear a lot of different hats. There was really no person that was their job to find songs for all the artists, not just one artist. So we've already started getting some songs from her, which is great. There's several places around town that I know they're going to play me great songs. There's a handful of publishing companies that really pay attention. They've sort of done their homework on where Rodney is at that particular time. And there's several places where you go in and they have great talent. They hire these big companies that are really successful. They know how to find talent and they get great songs. And it's just not that they can't come from odd places or something comes in that you wouldn't think. But generally speaking, that's a sort of a place where I can go to find songs. And it's like everything, might not find something to cut, but you find something that you think the artist would like. That's the main thing, is just like, okay, does Rodney, can he sing this? Can he be the character in this song? He's a great songwriter too. I think he had 4 or 5 on this album, but he's also realized the value of an outside song. With Going Through Hell, we had a song that was going to be the next single that Rodney had written. Really dark song, somebody dies in it, and a really great song, but it's not like something that you want to hear a bunch of times. And so I thought, at that point, this is it. This is sort of our last swing, And so I went out and I kind of quit writing for a while and just started looking. And I remember Brad Kennard played me If You're Going Through Hell, and it was like somebody hit me over the head with the 204 saying, hey, this is it right here. This is a song, And so it just, for one of those times, you just realize there's something special about it,
Mm-hmm.
At that time, Brad was working for Carnival, which is a really good small company. They don't have
Frank Liddell.
They don't have a huge staff of writers, but they have it's a really good, the small companies, they're probably one of the best. You might find something in there that's a little different, but they're all good song people.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So what I tell people is, because you're looking for a needle in a haystack, finding that right song or those collection of songs. And so you have to rely on filters and go on where you think there's the best chance of having more needles in that part of the haystack. And that sounds like what you're saying. The publishing companies that have the track record probably going to have more great songs. Like, you just know that there's a better chance of finding more needles in this straw.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, it's like I say, I still listen to the other songs that don't come from those companies just because you just never know. I mean, you can't listen to thousands of songs by yourself. But I know, Rodney's manager is a good song filter too. Greg Hill was a song plugger before he was a manager. So he's a really good song person. So songs come through, he finds songs too. So it's sort of a joint effort, everybody sort of, what I look at that is, you put myself in receive mode, just receiving. I'm receiving all great songs now, it's just the mindset. It's sort of the similar way of, as a songwriter, looking for ideas. You put yourself on receive, like and you just start thinking, okay, I'm open for great song ideas. And that's a mindset too, you know?
Yeah. Cause you're a writer too. And so
Yeah.
as you're listening as a writer, I would imagine it's a different headspace and going, okay, am I critiquing this as how I would write this differently? Or am I just trying to get out of the way and just receive if you're Rodney or not, or whoever's the artist is.
Exactly. And sort of shift into that mode when we're sort of, you know, actively looking. And, you know, you're sort of always looking in a way, really, just because the nature of the business is, especially now, you know, there's really not going to be that many like physical albums. It's almost more of a singles business. And, you know, we were lucky in the beginning because we had really finished an album and it was not out yet, but we had finished it supposedly. And then I found the song Honesty, which was our first successful single. If it hadn't been, the door hadn't still been open and still looking, you know, we'd have had an album out there and it would have been, you know, been over probably. So.
Yeah, I remember that was the first one. And that was the record before If You're Going Through Hell,
yeah.
right?
And it, you know, it was like a top 5 or something like that. It didn't sell a lot, but it was kind of gave us, okay, we're hanging on to the first rung of the ladder, you know, where do we go from here?
Right, you got another at bat.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was, you know. So it was still fun, you know. And that was one of those songs that had been cut before. It was like when you're starting out as an unknown act, you're just looking for the songs that have fallen through the cracks. And they do. Like that song, I think Reba had cut it and it didn't make the project, and Billy Dean had it on hold. So it had a history of attention. You know, it just hadn't been a single for anybody. If you're starting out, there are songs, you look for songs like that because there are out there, you know, ones that for whatever reason, you know, I remember hearing stories about One of These Days, that song. I think Winona cut that twice and it didn't make it. And then Tim McGraw finally cut it and it was a big hit.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just interesting.
I think that's a lesson for songwriters as well, is don't give up on those. If it's had some sniffs, some nibbles, maybe a little something here, but like if you think it's great, try it again.
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure.
So, something you said really caught my ear, and it's something I want to talk about anyway, so I'd love to segue into that, is talking about going to publishing companies, places where you figure they've done their homework, they understand where Rodney is as an artist, and could he be this character? And I think that's really important, and something I try to talk to my people about is understanding the lane of the artist, the brand of the artist, and doing things that are brand appropriate for the artist and those things. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that and how important that is for the artist and kind of what that means for you as you're listening going, okay, can he do this? It's not just, oh, it sounds like a hit. Because I'm sure you get pitched songs that sound like a hit and could be, but they're not Rodney hits.
Right.
And what kind of the importance of brand on that?
Yeah.
And doing your homework for a songwriter or a publisher? Well,
there's a brand involved, you know, but there's also just, you know, where the singer is at that point in their life. I've got a great song that they played me over at Sony that Thomas Rhett wrote, you know, and I thought, oh, wow, this is a great song. They played it for me. I said, why didn't he cut this? Well, he's in a place now where he's got a great marriage and he's having kids. This song is about running into an old girlfriend. You know, maybe we should have a drink sometime. So it doesn't fit Rodney either, but it's just like, I've got that song and I think, man, this is just a great song. You know, something, you know, will hopefully if I can use it somewhere, but it's just, you know, knowing where the artist is in their life as much as anything as their brand. And, you know, part of the brand can also be a trap. I mean, we've had a lot of songs about rural life and stuff, but, you know, there have been times when we try to get off the farm, you know, because it's like you can get stuck on the farm, you know.
Right.
So people also, when people pitch, especially when people that don't pay attention, you know, they're usually pitching for where you were instead of where you're going. And if you've already done something like that, like say we did that It's America song, well, probably not going to do any more sort of kind of patriotic songs for a long time or ever, you know. And Rodney's real conscious of that, of not going somewhere that we've already been. You try to find something that connects that artist. One of the things we did with Caught Up in the Country was we're coming from a place and when we're trying to get here, you need something that works for both ways. And so, you know, we tried some different things on that record, you know, to sort of, and it's still Rodney's voice is really country. It's like I heard the other day, I was listening to the radio and I heard Watching You and I was thinking, God, that's compared to now, that's really country. And at the time I wouldn't have thought, man, that's just really country. But I was listening
Right.
to it, I was thinking, golly, it's like kind of old school, which it is. You know, it's like 10 years old, but how things change.
Mhm.
But it's just funny to hear it that way, you know?
I think that's really important. And, sometimes we're not privy to we're trying to look at the past to think, where might they go? And I call it the gaps.
Yeah.
An artist catalog, and I'm aiming for the gaps. The gaps, I love acronyms.
Yeah.
So growth.
Yeah.
There's growth. Where are they
Right.
growing as a person?
Yeah.
Are they married? Do they have kids now? Maybe they didn't sing about that before. Maybe now they will sing about kids. Achievement.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for that next milestone, that next step up the ladder. We're all trying to grow.
Right.
And preaching or positioning, like, who do they speak to?
Yeah.
What's the choir they're preaching to?
Yeah.
And do we have something that preaches to that choir? And then songwriting, if there's something that this person writes really well and they do it themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't need to pitch that because that's aiming right at the strength of what they do. So let me pitch something else. And always trying to find those little gaps, and looking at what they've done and trying to kind of project a step in the future, which is, we're guessing.
No, that it is, but it's a good habit to get into, because if you stay current with who's out there and where they are in their career, you're going to have a lot better chance of getting songs cut. Really, I mean, you can even. Like when we got our Waylon cut, we actually wrote that kind of with Waylon in mind. And there's some writers are really good at that. That's really probably the only time that I can remember doing that specifically. It's one of those things that there is some luck involved too, but also, you see the guys that are really working hard. And I mean, the thing about Nashville is that, everybody's talented. There's just like talent everywhere. And the thing that separates is those people that are working hard and working smart, because just trying to make it on just talent alone, it doesn't work really. I mean, it might work a little bit, but for the long haul, you watch these guys like Craig Wiseman and stuff, how they work. It's inspiring, really.
And very challenging too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Talent is just the ticket that gets you in the door.
Yeah.
It's the other stuff that's going to, I guess, keep you in or take you to that next level.
Yeah.
I believe that as well. As far as, I remember a Brad Paisley story back, one of his first big ones, the fishing song that I heard everybody in town was pitching fishing songs to him after that. It's like, no, he's already done that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of a waste of time. So what mistakes do you see songwriters make when they pitch a song for one of your artists? Basically, like, what annoyed you and waste your time? It could be the type of song they pitch, that they haven't done their homework, or the method by which they approach. It could be the work itself or how they approach you. What are some don't do's? The
first thing is, like, don't misspell the artist's name. You wouldn't believe how many things I've gotten where it's ATK and it's not AD. It's like, I hate to be picky about it, but I mean, an artist sees that, it's not going to fly. It's kind of insulting in a way. But I think just knowing enough about the artist, are they going to do like drinking songs? Are they in their life where they might not be doing any drinking songs? Or people pitching songs. It's a really hard thing to do, the pitching songs about when talking about your life with kids. That's such a personal thing for most people. It's hard. A lot of times, like, for instance, Rodney was adopted, and we've had a lot of it. Once he went public with that, we get a lot of songs about adoption, and we still haven't really done one. It's weird. We had some that were really good, I thought, that I lobbied for, that just, for whatever reason, he just didn't want to go there. So, but we had a flurry for a while there of adoption songs, but because it was kind of amazing. Rodney found out he'd already known he was adopted, but people started coming to the shows with all the good intention, thinking, with locks of hair, thinking they were related to him. People crying, and just he had to finally go and find out who his birth mother was, so he'd know if these people were, if it was true or not.
Wow.
So it was pretty amazing.
Wow, that is. We've adopted 3 kids over the past 2.5 or so years, and every story is different, and the way that they come into our family is different. The way they relate to it, extremely personal. I've written a bunch of adoption songs, but I can't. Being in Rodney's position of having been adopted, I imagine that's a very personal thing. I remember writing a song one time about looking through the glass at your newborn son thing, and I think it's a really well written song, good song. But I wrote it with a couple of writers. I remember my song player going, "Yeah, man, this is great, but it's probably one of those things that an artist is going to want to write on, to put their specifics in there to make sure it's their story, because it is so personal." So I think it's a great point.
Yeah.
It's a hard target to hit for someone else.
No, it is. And, plus he had been adopted twice. It was like the third time he'd get sick and they'd bring him back. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of an extra twist in the story, that's just, so it's just funny. We've never done that as a song, I don't know if we ever will, probably.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of like doing your homework and stuff. What about the actual process? Is people finding where you live, knocking on your door, or sending 25 songs in an email, or what are some of those?
Yeah. No, I'll tell you one of the other things and this is sort of off the side from that, is when writers will have a great idea, but they'll do just some kind of like either make it a ballad when it doesn't have to be, or not have it some life and some tempo, because you get so many songs with it's just like they do the sort of the default groove is what I call it, and instead of working the kits, and I think having all these track guys help that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I think going into the default mode, I'll hear songs because they're, especially there's halftime songs that are so big now. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard to not have an album that just has like 80% of those. I don't know if it's like that halftime thing, that kind of thing. Everybody, there was a default mode a long time ago that's kind of a pet peeve. It's like, oh, guys, you couldn't have done something a little more interesting or something. That drives me crazy a little bit.
I get that. As a lyricist, I have to keep reminding myself, like when I'm in the room going, yeah, say something great. Say something great, but let's push on melody and tempo and groove and stuff. Yeah.
But there's a phenomenal amount, and I've run into 2 or 3 in this last 6 months, really talented guys that are called track guys. That's sort of demeaning, but they're basically sort of programmer producers that are really creative and really, really good. It's just really sort of a revolution in a way. I've got a guy that I'm working with on Andrew, that his name is Joey Ebach, and he's a really good songwriter for one thing, but he's a really talented programmer, track guy. When I first heard, that's one of the first ways I heard Andrew. He had sung a bunch of demos with him, and I thought, man, who's doing those demos? It's just real fresh sounding, and It was exciting to hear it.
Yeah. So go for something different. Energy is always good.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you can make it up tempo, without, you don't want to sing a song about somebody dying up tempo, but if you can do it, I can remember it really made an impact on me. I saw a comp CD of Bob DiPiero of 30 songs, and it was like 28 of them were like up tempo songs, and I was thinking, okay, there you go.
You're right. Okay. Hall of Fame, 28-2. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Part of this whole thing to me is increasing your odds. There are a lot of things you can do as a songwriter to increase your odds. And obviously, I'm sure you probably have already fleshed that out in 10 steps and stuff, but there are just a lot of things you can do to increase your odds. That's, to me, is it's a long shot all the time, but there are ways you can make it more possible that you're going to get some cuts.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of those. So tempo, not doing the default groove. I say, songwriting on autopilot won't take you to new heights.
Right.
Get off autopilot. Put some more thought into this. What are some of those other things? I have my list, but I'm always curious to hear other people's lists, especially from your side of the table.
Obviously there are things, writing with the artist, which that's sort of it's hard to get into that, especially artists that are already signed. But if you form relationships with people that are at your level that you think are really talented, you're probably all going to rise together. And I think just finding those people that you really, it's what I call, it's the same thing with artists, but you find your fellow travelers, and people that you're greater than the sum of your parts when you're working with this person, whoever it is. And that's one of the things to me is to find those, don't get spread out too thin. You can do that and just not focus in on the people that you really click with and have some things that you really believe in.
Right.
That's one thing for people that are sort of at a starting out level. It's hard, especially I was never a writer's night guy. I'm not really good at that. And some people are great at that. And that's a good way for people to get their songs heard around town. If you're not good at that, I can always remember Phil Barnhart, who was a lyricist that I worked with. He would go to a writer's night with his boombox. And when it come his turn, he would play the song on the boombox.
Oh, that's hilarious! I should do that sometime. Just hold my phone up and just
exactly.
Here you go. Put it in the guitar case.
Yeah,
And just have my phone like in a little box where you keep your like capo, just pull it out of there.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea.
But I don't know if people would love me or hate me.
Oh, you'd get a rise.
That's funny. I should do that. I'll put that on my bucket list. That's great. So we've about hit our 30 minutes, and I want to, honor that time. But man, this has been really, really helpful. I think just really good stuff for us as songwriters to see kind of through your eyes and your perspective on some do's, some don't do's, some going, oh wow, they have some miss the mark sometimes, or have doors closed, but then opened as well. And I think that's good for us to see. So as we're closing her down, any just general advice? I know you've given us so much as far as like the business of songwriting, that you see some people maybe making mistakes on, some young writers. So we talked about, working with the artist. If you can find your crew, come up together. Yeah. And I think that all makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I'm not sure, I think, the main thing is you just have to find people that believe in you. That's sometimes it's really hard, and it's just like you're sort of out in the wilderness. But if you're looking and have something you get to be a pretty good critic of your own songs, and that's one thing. So that you're not going to have a tape with 10 songs and given to a publisher if you got 3 great songs, and you play those instead of playing too many. It's like you said that before. Mm-hmm. But that's it. It's just finding people that believe in what you're doing. It's really a sort of a nebulous thing. There's really everybody has their own path. It really is. Everybody, I'm sure you probably realize this, everybody has the story. And I'm amazed actually that I've been able to have the career that I have. And because it's at any one time, in those places, you're just thinking about other things, and you're not necessarily thinking about, okay, how do I get to the next place? Mm-hmm. But that's kind of what you're constantly doing. You just can't stay in one place lyrically, musically. You have to evolve and grow. And a lot of that is just working. You got to just keep showing up. In this business, and that sounds very trite, but in this business, it's hard to keep showing up. If you get your butt kicked a number of times, it's not that much fun to keep showing up.
Right. And to keep believing and to keep that positivity.
There you go. That's it right there. And that's not easy. Do you know Lee Crable?
I don't.
Anyway, he works at SMAC over there at Shane McNally's place, and he's a big Braves fan. And so he is the most positive person. I'll be thinking, God, they're screwing up. They're making errors. And we have on this little loop that Butch Baker's on too, where we commiserate and celebrate when the Braves. But Lee is just always positive. And so I'm just trying to be like Lee, mm-hmm. and just transfer that into the business too, because people want to be around you too. You're gonna attract more like a magnet,
Yeah, I think that's totally true, because we both, I'm sure, have plenty of stories of people that got bitter, and we have to. That stuff's contagious.
Oh yeah,
that's how I look at it. So I was like, I gotta step back here, because it's hard enough keeping my own head up, and I want to encourage you. But if you're not going to be receptive to my encouragement, I have to be careful, because that mess is contagious, and I got to.
That's one of the things that Rusty Gaston, who he just got promoted. I think he's like head of Sony now, or whatever. But his staff, when he had this music. It was all really good writers, but they were all really positive. I mean, it was just there was always a great vibe in there, and just a positive vibe. There weren't people complaining about this, that, or the other thing, and the success he had over there was just phenomenal. I don't know who's going to run that place now, but I mean, Rusty, I always told Rusty, man, you're going to be running something big someday. Mm-hmm. And this is something some writers get, Rusty would manage his writer's calendar like very strictly to make sure you're writing up, which, some people hate that. I mean, but it's a real thing that people try to do. Mm-hmm. The other thing I did is when you're trying to write up, you need to always give somebody a reason to want to write with you. When people approach you, you got to bring something to the party. Right. Like it's a great idea, or just, you can't just show up and say, well, here I am.
Right. I agree. What's your value proposition? What value do you bring in? I've used a potluck analogy before. It's a potluck. You better bring a good dish. Yeah. Because if otherwise you're just coming to eat.
I tell you, it's really cool what you've done. I mean, you're taking your success and making it something that it's accessible for people that are trying to figure out how to do this, and you obviously have great knowledge about the business and stuff, and bringing in people that have that have been warriors out there, because that's the only way to really find out. It's just a really source of information. about how it works.
Well, thank you. I'm just trying to do my best to lead people down a good path. And if I accidentally lead them down the wrong path, at least that's less competition for me. Okay, not really.
No.
Well, Ted, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for hanging with us. I definitely appreciate it. I think there's a lot of value, a lot of good wisdom and insight here that I definitely appreciate because it's good. Part of why I do this is selfish because I like to hang with people that are in the business and know what they're talking about. And sometimes I get asked questions that I just want to know. But I know we're going to help the community as well. So thank you so much. I think you provided a ton of value. And,
Great.
God bless. I appreciate it.
All right, man. All right. See you around. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of another killer C.L.I.M.B episode, the C.L.I.M.B Music Biz Podcast. Brent, what else you got to sweeten the pot here?
Yeah, well, okay. So if you like that, there's more where that came from. So again, that was The Hang, which is a video series I host in the members area of Frettie.com, FRETTIE.com. And so if you want to see that, again, if you want to see what else we have in there, we have a lot of stuff going on over in that community. You can, best way to find out is actually, let me give you a free gift. I have a gift for you. It's called Think Like a Pro Songwriter. It's an ebook that you can have instant access to through giftfrombrent.com. That's giftfrombrent.com. You just download that and I'll send you some information about Frettie. Of course, you can always go to Frettie.com, FRETTIE, or songwritingpro.com if you're so inclined. But also, man, great way to do it is just let me give you a piece of my mind, right? Some lessons I've learned from my years in the songwriting music business at giftfrombrent.com. That'll also let you know about cool stuff we have going on at Frettie, Songwriting Pro. There we go.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, this podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.